Hello, I'm Dr Michelle Sanson and I'll be teaching International Trade and Financial Law in the first 2 weeks of November this year. I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit more about the course. International trade and finance both provide a significant opportunity for international peace and prosperity. The countries are naturally less inclined to bomb other countries which they depend on for their goods and services. They're also less likely to have internal conflict if they enjoy financial stability and prosperity. Trade can offer a pathway out of poverty, and it's also a platform for broader international cooperation. Over the past 6 decades, what we've moved into is an unprecedented level of cooperation in trade and finance. After the ravages of 2 world wars and the isolationist economic policies in the Cold War, we've seen that struggle between socialism and capitalism, and what we've emerged into is very much a globalised world. There's been an increased impetus to achieve global approaches to issues of global concern, which include trade and finance. And it's interesting to see how the global financial and trade architecture arose after World War II. The World Bank and the International Monetary Fund are what we would describe as Bretton Woods institutions. They were envisaged at the end of World War II to try and stabilise finances around the world, and to also provide a mechanism for loans and support to countries that need to develop. There was also a third organisation that was envisaged at the time, which was to be the International Trade Organisation, but unfortunately that was unable to get off the ground, and what was agreed instead was a general agreement on tariffs and trade, known as the GATT, and that was responsible for coordinating trade law and policy over quite a long period of time. It was only in 1995 that we got the World Trade Organisation, which was in many ways the culmination of the envisaged International Trade Organisation of some 50 years previously. Now, there is a lot of issues in international trade and finance law at present, and these are contemporary issues, like you might have seen in the papers and on the news, issues about debt forgiveness. Should developing countries that have amassed massive debts by their previous governments, should those debts be forgiven in order to enable them to develop, and should there be aid and capacity building to help develop infrastructure and governance to support economic prosperity in the future? There's also interesting issues in the trade area of bilateralism. There's been an absolute explosion in the number of bilateral trade agreements in the past 10 years. Even though we've got a World Trade Organisation which is supposed to favour multilateralism. And we've got these trade negotiations that you might have seen, the Doha round of trade negotiations, which keep stalling and falling over. And in the meantime, we've got this explosion of bilateral trade agreements. So it will be interesting to see, does that mean multilateralism is dead and we're moving to a situation of a network of interacting bilateral trade agreements? Or is the bilateralism itself a contribution to harmonisation in the future? Maybe this is just the step, let's get this group together to make that trade deal now, with a view that in the future it can be multilateralised. So they're just a few of the sort of issues that we'll cover in the course. I don't want to go into it in too much detail now, but I hope that gives you a bit of a taste. I look forward to seeing you in class. Bye for now.